what
Welcome
he's
to
doing.
the FiveStack, everybody. We know
Hi.
what we're doing, too. That is Zev. I am Dean. And we have a jam-packed show for you today on both sides of the border. This is the only show where Canada and America come together under one beautiful tent to talk about all things important to democracy-loving North Americans. Zev just wanted to point this out as we get started today. I have 2 karma zits for making fun of your one zit. So God pays debts without money, even though I don't believe in God. Just wanted to say I woke up with a couple of heaters on my face this morning.
I'm sad to hear that. But
No,
you
you're
look
not.
great. I can't see them.
That's
So
a
it's okay.
lie. That's a lie. I got one here, and this one hurt. And then this one
Have you
right here,
squeezed it already?
yeah, like right before I got on
Right.
there. Courtney, did you name your zits? Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill and the octagon. I
Oh,
call
the
this one the
octagon.
octagon. There's so many sides to it.
Oh.
And Bill's just
Oh, now
right
that you
in your
mention
face.
it.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned it, it is kind of large. It is, it's now I can see it. Yeah, it's definitely
Well,
stands
there
out.
you go. Yeah, because
It's
I
almost
pointed
like a
to it.
three-dimensional, mountain, really. It's an
I think
octagon
it has
mountain.
its own weather system. Bill has its own weather system.
Oh, really?
The octagon might be a municipality at some point in time. And again, 52. I thought I was past the old zit stage, but here
Apparently
we go.
not. Apparently, you still got hormones going on, sir. So that's something.
It's a good thing, right? Yeah, at 52, I can still do my business. That's all I care about.
It's a very good thing. It's also Friday. That's also a good thing. It is interesting being a crossover show. We're a crossover show. Did you know that? We officially cross over the border of Canada and the United States. Very rare to have a show that crosses over the border. And we've been able to do that. So thank you, friends, for being here. Thank you for your support. We love you. We've got lots of good stories to get to today. And at number 5, there are 562,000 new millionaires in the United States created in 2024, bringing the total to 7.9 million millionaires, with their collective wealth growing 9.1% in a single year when most Americans faced economic hardships. Now, this was, of course, the Biden administration, so it's not even credit to Trump. But still, the surge here was driven by AI stock euphoria and market gains, with ultra-wealthy holders of $30+ million seeing their ranks grow twice as fast as ordinary millionaires. Because now you get an ordinary millionaire, and then you get your uber millionaire, 30 million plus. Which are you? Which millionaire are you?
Yeah, I'm the 1,000 millionaire. Is what I am. I got $1,000. That's all I got. It's America prior to Donald Trump taking the reins and driving it right into the shitter was on fire. I mean, you talk about the economy of economies. They're growing at 3 to 4%. They're minus 1.4 according to every economist and every economic expert this year. Their GDP is going to be in the toilet. So it'll be interesting to see what the numbers of 2025 bear in terms of making millionaires, because, the one thing that this generation is really, really good at, and I'm not talking about our generation was bad at it because we were told effectively markets were for other people, not for the regular person. But, the past 50 years, things have changed. Yeah. And so, you've got not just the ability for everyday people to make money in the markets, day trading, et cetera, et cetera. Robinhood's done a really good job of that. You can call Steve Cohen what you like, and you can talk about how they're all profit-taking assholes, and they are. But they've opened up the markets to other people, and education being what it is, Bitcoin being what it is, people betting on memes, NFTs being what they were and what they are. Money exists in rarities now. Money exists in avenues and places and spaces where it didn't when we were younger, right? So, you've got a lot of people, and I know a few of them that have made millions and millions and millions of dollars sitting around their apartment with their thumbs, just going back and forth, trading, buying different coins, getting into Ethereum, getting out of Ethereum, buying the dip, and then riding that dip to a bigger price, and then taking that money out and putting it in fiat money. But I would be interested to see that number in terms of what that number is according to fiat millionaires and Bitcoin millionaires, like monetary million. You know what I mean? Like I'd be interested to see that breakdown for sure.
I don't have that breakdown. I do have this breakdown, though, that there are 19 households that now control $2.6 trillion. That's quite something. That's a lot of value just amongst, let's call it 20 families. Way too much concentration of wealth amongst the very few. And it certainly doesn't trickle down to everybody else, no matter what Trump thinks. And on top of all of this, they're going to give them tax cuts now. This is the big, beautiful bill gives them additional tax cuts. So going forward, millionaires, uber millionaires, call them what you will, get to pay less going forward, while Medicaid and Medicare get cut.
Yeah. Welcome to America. I mean, welcome to the Occam's razor, if you will, of millionaires, billionaires, and trillionaires. Is that the government is not for the people, by the people. The government is the richest people, the most powerful people, ascending to different positions. As much as I love J.B. Pritzker, who's the governor of Chicago or Illinois.
Oh, yeah.
J.B. Pritzker was a billionaire, and that is why he is now the governor of Illinois. Donald Trump has just littered his cabinet with billionaires, all morons, if you ask me. Linda McMahon, billionaire, moron. Is she entitled to run the Department of Education? Absolutely not. Same thing with Kelly Loeffler. She's the secretary in charge of small business. Kelly Loeffler was going to go to fucking jail when she lost her Senate seat in Atlanta because of insider trading. Again, billionaire. So, again, they're not about to make their lives more difficult when they get the reins and they can change laws. They're going to make their lives a little bit easier, to the point now where, that wealth transfer with this big, beautiful bill is going to be so egregious that I can't remember the actual number, but if someone made in the neighborhood of $1 million a year, you were going to get a 10% tax cut. If you made in the neighborhood of $36,000 a year, your taxes were going to go up 7 to 12%.
Yeah.
So, it is truly magnificent every time I see Donald Trump stand up like he did today or yesterday when he was going back and forth with Elon Musk, which I cannot believe we didn't start with at
We're
number
going
one
next to
today.
it. We're going next. We're going next to that.
When he's standing there and he's like, well, I don't know what he gets. I don't know what he gets. It's going to be a big, beautiful day. It's going to be great. We're going to make so much money. And what he's saying is that a few people that he knows, including him, are going to make millions and billions of dollars, and everybody else is going to get fucked. So, there's your 534,000 new millionaires right there.
At number 4, then, the feud between Donald Trump and Elon Musk reached new depths Friday as the White House confirmed that Trump has no interest in talking to his former ally, this despite attempts to broker a phone call between the two. He said, I'm not even thinking about Elon. He's got a problem. The poor guy's got a problem. Not even thought about him today. Elon,
I love how he said the poor guy's got a problem.
Yeah. Musk, don't recognize the name. Trump told CNN that while reportedly considering getting rid of the red Tesla Model S that he bought just a few months ago that's parked right outside the White House, Tesla shares also clawed back some ground today after losing $150 billion in value yesterday, the largest single-day decline in the company's history. But there are attempts to bring these two together, but so far being resisted by at least one of the parties in the White House.
Both. Would you say both? I know. I read a lot today about the impending phone call because yesterday's Armageddon, which was fucking awesome. By the way, hi Dimitri, hi Andrea, hi everybody. Yesterday's and don't tell me for a second. Like I know everybody's like, stop fighting, you guys. I'm like, no, fucking keep fighting. This is incredible. It's like it's like Real Housewives of the fucking White House. Like I really, really enjoyed watching the petty spill out onto social media. And let me just remind everybody, the two most powerful men in the world had a fucking Twitter fight.
Mm-hmm.
The ones where you're like, you tell your children, there's really no upside to you going back and forth and arguing with people on Twitter, right? And something I've really tried to get away from. They literally held their fucking resentment divorce and aired it all out publicly for all of us to watch.
I know, amazing.
They took us on the inside of all the problems, the pictures that we saw of Trump giving Elon Musk shit. Now they all make sense.
Mm.
The backhanded compliments and the dear leader shit. Now we all know it was performative because what happened yesterday was nothing short of a fucking miracle. And there are so many different aspects to this Elon Musk Donald Trump business now that we're sort of in this like no man's land where, you've got two people who the world categorically fucking hate, right? Two people that needed each other, that had to have each other for them to be able to survive. And now we've had this cataclysmic fucking Twitter argument / fight where Elon Musk is going after the big beautiful bill. Donald Trump, because he has no concept of how to argue based on merit, like he's not going to debate the bill because he doesn't know what's in the fucking bill because he's a moron. So what he does is what Donald Trump always does was he got personal. He said Elon's gone crazy. He's got Trump derangement syndrome. And if you remember, that's when the fucking floodgates opened. That's when Elon was like, all right, you want to get personal? You're on the Jeffrey Epstein hit list. And that's why those things are not being put out. And you're fucking over America and you're a pedophile. Effectively is what he said in that tweet. And then he told everybody, by the way, you're going to go through a recession in the second half of this year. It's because of this moron's tariffs. Oh, and by the way, let's impeach the prick and get J.D. Vance to slide into the Oval Office. Like, those were three of the most amazing fucking tweets and retweets that I have ever seen in my entire life. And I used to love being on Twitter, not so much anymore. Thank you, Substack, deanblundell.substack.com. Come and join us. But this is what you're seeing too, is this could be the end of MAGA as you know it, right? Well, that's what I find so fascinating to me.
It could be the end of MAGA as we know it. You know, the thing is, Musk is not doing it for the right reasons. He's not doing it because he cares about poor people. He is not doing it because he cares about democracy. He doesn't care about really anything but his own wealth and his own power. So you've got to keep that in mind. So there's nothing virtuous about the Elon Musk clapback. It's just that the two most, arrogant, egotistical men in the world who are billionaires are going at each other just because, they're going at each other over their fragile egos. The other part of it is I kind of think they're going to get back together because they have so much at stake. Their entire fortunes are basically staked on crypto. And they know that they need crypto to succeed. And one of the things that's going to get them over the finish line here and leave them as billionaires at the end of all this is crypto. So that and all the other financial entanglements that they have through the Saudis, through these contracts, through the government, you name it, they need each other. And they will have to find a way to get back together, even if they continue to hate each other underneath the surface.
That's what makes this so awesome to me, is because they have nowhere else to go except within the warm embrace of each other's fascist arms.
Yeah.
And they have turned off the entire world. If you are someone who believes in democracy, character, things that make leaders good people, you fucking hate these guys. And that's 75% of North Americans, in my estimation. Absolutely hate both of these fucks, right? So now you've got, let's take that 25% that loved both of these guys, that were so happy, they thought it was a dream team. And they've now split that 25 in half. And if you look at some of the comment sections, which I spent a lot of time reading yesterday, the Fox News comment section, Truth Social comment sections, you got to spend time on that side of it too. You can't just live in your silo. I really was buoyed. No, you can't anymore. You got to know what everybody's doing.
I like it.
But if you spend time outside of your silo, like I did yesterday, you get a real picture for the way the wave is moving. And I would say 9 out of every 10 comments were negative on Truth Social, Donald Trump's own fucking app, on Truth Social, about how Donald Trump fucked up, how Donald Trump went after Elon Musk personally, and how Elon Musk was just trying to do, and by the way, this is also a rug pull. Elon Musk is not out there just trying to do what's right for the American people. He wants those EV tax credits, or Tesla's losing hundreds of millions of dollars a year. That's what keeps that stupid fucking brand alive, by the way. That's why we have the dumb Cybertruck, which, by the way, is no longer in production, but that's another story. So in the big scheme of things, what they've both done is several months ago run towards each other going, hey, listen, we're going to cut off all of our options except for each other if we do this. And they're like, we have to, otherwise we're both going to jail for the rest of our fucking lives. And now that is split in half, and they got nowhere else to turn. Your article today about not excusing it, go to narrative.org, not excusing Elon Musk, really was terrific, because it lent itself to that discussion, which is where else can these guys go? Democrats don't want them. They know Elon Musk is poison, although in the game of politics, anything is fair game. If you can take your guy out, you'll use the enemy of my enemy as your friend every single time. Donald Trump, he's got nowhere to go. And he's effectively splitting between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. They have split support for MAGA, support for the agenda of fascism and authoritarianism, in half, in half. Because now you've got Elon Musk who's collecting influence on one side. He's got hundreds of billions of dollars. He's the world's richest man. He's the world's most influential man. And on the other side, you have a guy who has courted, insane QAnon, fucking Pepe Le Frog, Patriot Front, evangelical Christians on the other side. And the one tweet that will really upset the fruit basket for Donald Trump, the one thing is the Epstein shit. That is the one thing, because I think Trump world and MAGA is fairly settled on the fact that, yeah, he's a rapist and a degenerate, but we'll let that pass. But Donald Trump has been pimping not only that he's going to release these Epstein files, and not only did he release a 300-page novella, which was largely blacked out and chock full of readily available court information. So he rugged all of those people that day when he said, come get your Epstein book. And not only has Pam Bondi said, oh, it's not formatted properly. And not only has Kash Patel said, oh, we're still working on it. And Dan Bongino still working on it. That nuclear fucking football in the middle of Twitter right now with Jeffrey Epstein is the only thing that's going to turn off his hardcore evangelical MAGA base. It's the only thing that's going to turn off every MAGA degenerate and cult member, because they've accepted that he's a fucking creep, totally accepted it. But that was based on the premise that he wasn't in those files. And if he is, holy moly, you're going to watch that fucking fulcrum move all the way over to the side of Elon Musk.
Well, I think some people didn't know that he was in those files. So, is it really that much of a surprise that Donald Trump knew Epstein? Well, we know that they knew each other. We know that they hung out together.
It's only hundreds of pictures and dozens of videos.
So that's all not new. The thing that I found so interesting in doing my, backwards research yesterday about the two networks, the Epstein and Musk networks, is how similar they are. And I write about this in that post I did on narrative.org that, between Russia, Israel, and Saudi Arabia, or at least those UAE countries, you basically have the same networks that funded both Epstein and Musk. So it's not like Musk is so far away from Epstein. Plus, we know that they had dinner together in 2011, or at least were at the same dinner. And we know that there was a photograph of Ghislaine and Elon Musk together. So, maybe they weren't, bosom buddies, if that's the case, although both might be gay. But however, they do seem to have had very similar funding sources and similar allegiances to the same countries, which makes me think that they're very similarly wired in the organized crime world, in the world that is not about legitimate, money, or certainly not about legitimate power, and certainly not about democracy. So, these two, they're cut from the same cloth, as is Donald Trump. I mean, it's amazing to me. Donald Trump and Elon Musk get along well together. Donald Trump is the biggest shit in the world. Elon Musk is also a big shit, according to everybody. Of course they get along.
Shits. Yes.
Yeah. Of course they get along well with each other because they're both assholes. At the end of the day, this is their thing. They understand each other's moral code. They understand each other's lack of values. They'll screw over anybody and have done it over and over and over again, including the American people, to get ahead or to make a buck. And this is the reality of these two guys and everybody else that surrounds them. These are just greedy, greedy men.
Yeah, that again is what makes this bulkhead they seem to be at so incredible, because they're both the same person. They both have used everyone and everything and done everything wrong to get to where they're going. They're not just not morally flexible. They don't have morals. They will take, steal, lie, cheat, hurt, damage, do anything they can to get ahead. That's just what they do. They don't care who gets hurt in the process. And that's now playing out between two guys who literally have nowhere to go, like I said before, other than into each other's arms. And so, you look at it from a perspective of who's going to win, and I think that there's an interesting conversation there. Who won yesterday? I'm going to say Elon Musk won yesterday, even though I fucking hate the guy as much as I hate Donald Trump. And he won yesterday because as soon as he launched that pedophile thing, Donald Trump shut up, had a press conference with Pam Bondi. People were launching questions at him. Very first time I have seen Donald Trump say nothing. Nothing. He hasn't tweeted about it. He hasn't responded to it. And let me ask you something. Let's say you're in that position You're
Mhm.
a very well-known politician. You're having an argument with one of your former senior advisors, and he alleges you're a total pedophile on social media.
Mhm.
You're going to present him with a lawsuit within 30 seconds. You're going to call your lawyer. You're going to say, spin up a defamation suit, make it for $250 million. I am not a pedophile, and I can prove
He
it.
didn't say
So
it was a
let's go.
pedophile. He didn't say it was a pedophile. Just
Well,
in fairness,
what does he mean by that? What he
I
means
mean
by
that's a
that?
very smart wording. He said that he was in the Epstein files, and we know that Trump was in the Epstein files. They were
Yeah,
friends, of course they
yeah.
were.
But the
But
the illusion
the illusion
is
is yes,
that
that
he's a pedophile because
yeah.
that's why he's in the Epstein files. He is one of those guys that is in the pedophile Epstein circle. And so, I go back to that all the time because it is such a nuclear football in this conversation that, you watched Donald Trump act the way he acted yesterday, which is very out of character for him because he's attack, 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 the Roy Cohn school of
Mhm.
how to manage really bad news. And not only did he not manage the bad news, he didn't say a word. Not
You
a
know what?
word.
Do you remember when Donald Trump alleged during that rally that that Musk had rigged the voting machines, but he did it in such a way that it wasn't completely understood that he rigged the elections, but it could have been suggested by the way he worded it that he did rig the actual voting machines. It's the same kind of wording, and I'm wondering if these guys are just very schooled at throwing out these red herrings at us. That the left just loves to hold on to and runs with these things. And in reality, they know they've worded it so carefully that there is no allegation of actual criminality here. It's just saying, hey, the guy's name is in the files. He's leaving everybody else to fill in all the details. Meanwhile, it's the same thing that Trump did in that suggestion that Musk rigged the election, which I think he did. I think he did rig the election, but because we don't have any evidence of that, and we don't have Trump saying it out so bluntly, we can't say that that's the case.
Well, you kind of have Elon Musk saying the same thing in a couple of tweets yesterday too, where he's like, "If it
Yes,
wasn't
true.
for me, you wouldn't have won the fucking election, right?" And then
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, okay, let's look into that." And that's actually happening right now. Eric Swalwell is sponsoring a bill to say, "Okay, let's look into this." Same thing with
Mhm.
the pedophile accusations. Eric Swalwell and a few other senators are like, "Hey, good one. Let's try and figure that out. Let's figure out if you're actually in the Epstein pedophile paper." So this has really opened up a ton of cans of worms, like a lot of different cans full of different kinds of worms, this little spat, because the Democrats and people who hate Donald Trump and Elon Musk that currently hold office, they're not going to let these things slide. Right? They're not. They're going to take every piece of ammunition they can, shine it up, turn it around, and spin it right back and point it at Donald Trump and Elon Musk. And just a little piece of
Mhm.
breaking news. I don't know if you got
Mm.
this. This is not Trump related. Little sidestep.
No, go for it.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was
Mhm.
mistakenly deported by El Salvador, is apparently on his way back to the United States right now
Well done.
to face criminal charges for human trafficking.
What?
Yeah, that's it. They said, "Oh yeah, let's bring him back and we'll charge him with human trafficking." So anyway, that's breaking news that he's coming back to the
They're
United
charging you
States of
with human
America.
trafficking?
I guess, yeah. That's
For
what
what?
ABC
On what
says.
basis? On what basis are they charging you for human trafficking?
It doesn't really say. It says Kilmar Abrego Garcia mistakenly reported El Salvador is on her way back to U.S. to face criminal charges. Sources tell ABC News.
So they could send him back there afterwards and say, hey, he was a criminal
Yeah,
after all.
guess you are a human trafficker.
They'll put him through the kangaroo courts or something. I mean, this is ridiculous that they're weaponizing this whole situation by coming up with these
Yeah.
completely, I mean, these can't be real charges. They just look like they've been made up.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't believe anything that comes out of the government or the DOJ at the moment in time anyway. So there you go. Kilmar Abrego Garcia coming back.
Well, at least he's coming back home. Maybe his family get to see him and he's out of that CCOT hell that he was in. Fun fact, just going back to Epstein and Trump, how far is Mar-a-Lago from Epstein's home in Palm Beach? Guess.
Mile and a half?
5.5 miles. It's not very far. Get there quite quickly.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm not here to say that I'm not here to definitively say that Donald Trump is a total pedophile and he was engaged in Jeffrey Epstein's disgusting pedophile circle. But I'm here to say he probably was. Yeah, I'm here to say, yeah, I'm guessing that he was. I'm telling you, man, this is not going to be the end. That tweet is going to chase Donald Trump around in increasing fashion over the next couple of weeks. and we're going to reach a fever pitch. Like we really, really are, to the
You,
point where I think that you're going to see some heads roll, or you're going to see some really unfortunate accidents over the next few weeks as well.
oh,
It's going to be
yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
I'd like to see, those photographs of Ivanka as a child with Donald Trump are some of the most disturbing photos you've ever seen. And I think that there's a lot left to be told there. And I'd be interesting if people unpacked some of that, and maybe she'll want to talk about those things. Who knows? It seems like she went through
She's pretty
quite
quiet.
quite a hellish moment that growing up under him. Canada considers banning Musk's Starlink over security fears. So this
Mm.
is another Musk story, but this time, there's actually sensible government in the world north of the 44th parallel. Is it 44th?
49th.
It's 49th, sorry.
Yeah,
49th parallel. I
no,
should
it's okay.
know.
You're only off by
By
5 parallels.
five. That's terrible. 5 parallels is like a whole different. Maybe in the future when Canada annexes the United States, then there'll be the 44th parallel. But Elon Musk's Starlink satellite internet service is potentially going to be banned by Canada. There's a serious conversation happening around that, according to national security sources. Officials worry that essential communication infrastructure is controlled by a foreign billionaire with documented ties to Trump, Putin, and authoritarian regimes. Well, no kidding.
Yeah. Starlink isn't Wi-Fi.
No.
Let me just put that out there for all you that beautiful people in Canada and rural areas. And I know we have a telco mafia here. We got 2 or 3 companies that literally own all the broadband, and they're like, we're not going to put any broadband in northern communities. It costs too much money. We don't make enough. They make it all. We pay more for Wi-Fi and internet and cellular service here than any country in the fucking free world. Just wanted to point that
It's
out.
very
We've got
expensive.
I call it the telco mafia. It's like you got 3 of them. They got trench coats and they got big deals for you, but they all end up in their pockets. And so, like case in point, the United States, you can get unlimited data for what, $19 a month. Here, it's
Yeah.
200.
Yeah.
So it's like
It's
10
ridiculous.
times.
It's ridiculous. And there's so
Yeah.
much data that you don't use. They just give you these
Yeah,
giant packages you have no choice about. It's really not
yeah,
good.
and they tie it to all kinds of other shit. So
Yeah.
we're really that's something that I hope Mark Carney gets a hold of next. But bottom line is that Starlink is not Wi-Fi. It's a private internet army. It's private infrastructure that is owned by one man and one man only, and his name is Elon Musk. And so, what we watched happen in the United States with what went on around the election, what we watched happen with Doge. And of course, Elon Musk disrespecting Canada with a few tweets saying it's not a real country at the 51st state climax, if you remember that shit. And then watching Elon Musk really have incredible conflicts of interest to the point where he's a Russian asset, might be a Mossad agent. Who knows? Who cares? But all I know is this, is that everything Elon Musk touches has a nefarious purpose to it. And so people in the national security apparatus here in Canada are having conversations with individual provinces at the moment. Because individual provinces in Canada and territories are all saying, is there a better option? And with this whole nation building thing that Mark Carney's going on about and what we're going to do as a country, where we're building an information superhighway, digital super prowess, where everybody has access to internet data. We've got Telsat. We've got a number of other local specific Canadian operations and telcos that have the ability to do this in a short period of time. We actually have our own satellites in orbit right now that can do this. We need more. And so part of that conversation is creating that infrastructure and then cutting off Elon Musk because of his attachments to MAGA, his attachments to Donald Trump, his attachments to China, to America, his attachments to Russia, to Putin, to Hungary, and knowing how mercurial and how fucked he is, knowing that he's incredibly compromised. And so here in Canada, we will nationalize anything at a moment's notice. That's where the whole commie thing comes from. Where it's like, what are you talking about? You guys, your government owns the liquor stores. Yeah, in a lot of provinces they do. Like here in Ontario, it's prohibitive, but it works. And so there's this conversation for Canadians right now to, this national security sphere that we're in, and protecting Canadians' information and protecting Canada from misinformation, disinformation, data theft is. Why the fuck would we deal with Elon Musk's Starlink?
Mhm.
There's zero reason to do it if the infrastructure is there. And if we're about to set sail on a nation building project that not only builds us a military superpower, but builds us an economic and information infrastructure superpower where we can actually control our destiny and we can shut out things from other countries like disinformation from Russia, disinformation from MAGA, disinformation from China. And that's been at the forefront when it comes to IT or information technology with this Carney government. And it's really, really, really important to the point where he has billboarded this. And the new Carney government, I don't say liberal, it's the Carney government because I hate liberals, I hate conservatives, really like Mark Carney because he's a smart man, he's a good man, and he works with character, and he's in it for the right reasons. So the Carney government's like, okay, what can we do where we're not going to piss and moan and get all upset? What can we do from a tech standpoint where we can protect Canadians' information, we can protect the minds of Canadians, and we can make sure that we're not allowing a fox in the information henhouse? And Elon Musk's Starlink is number one on that hit list. And so the conversations about banning it are getting louder and louder, and they now have buy-in from, I believe, almost every province and territory. But that has to come with some kind of supplementary answer where we can give broadband and data and information technology to people in areas where it's difficult to do so. So, yeah, Elon Musk, no Starlink. That is on the docket in Canada.
And Canada's not the only country that's really wrestling with this issue. You know, the French are probably the closest to developing a Starlink alternative. They also view it as a major national security imperative because they see what Starlink is doing in Ukraine. They see what Elon Musk is doing, selectively choosing which information the Ukrainians get, which information the Russians get, often giving the Russians the advantage. No one wants to do that. But as you point out, during Doge, we found out that, you know, there's something really toxic about the way Starlink acquires data and how it just basically sucks it up into the satellite and then directly down to wherever it's going. And that is a real problem because it bypasses the internet that we are all using. There's a wired internet that exists in the world, and it, largely.
By the way, Kevin O'Leary, Kevin Paquette, one of our faithful watchers, listeners,
hey,
ask us to take Kevin O'Leary back as well. So we'll give you your Starbank. You got it, but we're going to shout Elon out. You got to keep him, and you have to keep Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah.
Also, Jordan Peterson, he's staying there too. Fuck him.
Yeah. Doesn't he still live here? No, does he live there?
Jordan, no, he's gone. Yeah, he.
Okay, well, that's good that he left.
Yeah.
What was I saying? I was saying about
Starlink.
Yeah, so Starlink, it's got this real problem. So it's bypasses the wired internet, which is an American invention, which is controlled by America. And imagine just if America didn't have sort of dominance or control over that whole space, what the world would look like. Who would land up with control of it? Well, Russia would land up with control of a lot of that data because Starlink is so closely aligned to Musk. And so you have to really question this technology. I happen to believe that I think it's possible because they introduced this the cell to satellite service just before the elections, last year, which is the first time that Starlink was able to connect directly to cell phones. I happen to believe that that's how maybe the elections were rigged. Now, I don't have any evidence of that. Is it feasible? It is feasible. Did it happen? We don't know. But I think there's a good investigation that still needs to happen about whether that new technology, that new Starlink technology to talk to cell phones directly, were used to adjust some of the voting in various counties that landed up turning, for Trump when they should have really gone for Kamala Harris. But also because a lot of those voting machines and a lot of those tabulating machines are connected to cell phone towers. They're not connected to the main internet. They're connected to cell phone towers. So, is that the way that Elon Musk was able to do things on election day to get Trump elected? Possibly. Now, the Starlink connection has been rejected by almost everybody, but I don't think they looked at the cell phone to satellite technology that they just introduced just before the elections.
Yeah, well, there are two aspects to Starlink, right? There's recreational use, and then there's industrial use or government use. And because Canada is such a massive country, to kind of further your point, a lot of governments, provincial and federal employees, they will use Starlink in remote rural areas so they connect back and forth. And so the first part of that conversation is and I believe this is going to happen in the next 90 days, is you're going to see the government of Canada ban Starlink for any government employees across the country. You're going to see provinces do the same thing. Ontario has a soft agreement, which was a hard agreement, now soft agreement due to the tariff spat, to use $100 million worth of Starlink satellites in Ontario. That is apparently going to go away as well. But the residential use case is important. There's a lot of people in Ontario, a lot of people in Canada that use Starlink, that have Starlink terminals, that swear by it. It is a good technical service, but after you get online, you have no idea where your information is going. The government doesn't know where their information is going because, to your point, this isn't wired fiber optic anything. This, you can't trace any of this. Once it's gone, once you're connected, all of your stuff goes into a Starlink server that only one man has access to, or only one company has access to, and that is Elon Musk and Starlink. And so, yeah, I mean, you're again, nation building being what it is, and Canada being on that tip right now. It's time for that conversation for sure.
The problem is Starlink has 7,000 satellites orbiting the Earth. That's a lot of little gnats flying around.
Have you ever seen them? Have you ever seen these Starlink, the train of Starlink satellites going through the sky? I have. It's unnerving.
Yeah, I haven't seen them, no.
Yeah, you see them flying through the sky on a train, and you can Google pictures and video of it. And depending on when and where you are, it's actually spectacular to watch and a real feat of engineering. But you know why he put it up there, right? It wasn't about remote communities.
Yeah.
It was about having something that was untraceable, something that could hoover information, something that he could control and nobody else would have access to. And it's not like you can shut them off, right? It's not like you can go and visit the Starlink office and then just shut down the satellites. I don't even know how it works, but my understanding is that, the only person who has the ability to affect Starlink, access Starlink in any way, shape, or form is Elon Musk. So
it's a
bueno, as they say.
It's a surveillance tool for sure. It absolutely can surveil, and we just don't know what it can pick up and what it can't pick up. And I'm sure the Russians and Starlink themselves have got technology that we don't even understand on board those satellites. Which brings us to our number 2 story: technology that we don't understand. Doge's, I should say, AI algorithm was used in the Department of Veterans Affairs. They canceled 585 VA contracts for potentially gutting for saying they contravened all the new regulations they'd put in place, cutting veterans' healthcare services. The whole thing was done through artificial intelligence, which was used with zero human oversight and affected contractors and to a great extent, and had no appeal process either for any of these to go back and repeal them. So they basically said the AI said so, and that is it. There was no future repercussions. They just had to cancel these contracts. So the reason this is so controversial is that it's actually one of Doge's young, 21-year-old or 22-year-old with zero experience who decided to go into the Veterans Affairs, pulled out all these contracts that could potentially hold the lives of people. That could really destroy people's lives. And it was done by AI, and the AI kept making mistakes. Because this is the thing about AI, it's still way too new to be implementing it in government because, government requires sort of precision. It doesn't require what AI does, which is still guessing and hallucinating and all these other things that they do. And you don't get reliability or 100% reliability on AI. Anyone who uses AI, sometimes the thing comes up with stuff and it's like, what are you talking about? Where did you get that? You need to know what you're talking about. You need oversight. You need humans to be there. But not according to Doge, not according to Mr. Elon Musk, who decided to put AI into a whole bunch of different government agencies that are now struggling with it because guess what? It doesn't work.
So I use AI quite a bit. You use AI quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure. It's great.
In the editing game, in the fact checking game, in the research game, the analysis game, AI is great. What I never, ever, ever do is tell AI to do something critical for me, not check it and then put it out. Because to your point, dozens, and I mean dozens of times, I have asked for information from ChatGPT, Perplexity AI, whatever. Grok, I've used Grok, which is actually a pretty great little AI app. It's actually really good. And I've said, produce this for me. and it's produced an outline for something or given me research for something that was based on an event that was similar to something that happened here, but it happened 5 years ago, right? Where it's given me this timeline or outline or research that absolutely isn't what I asked it to do and would have defeated the purpose of me using it and then putting it out to cut corners.
Mm.
In this case, you're talking about 500 and what would you say, 35 different VA contracts?
Yeah, basically 550, I think.
Where the lives of veterans who have put themselves on the line, died, been
585.
maimed, sick, Agent Orange, Iraq War veterans, amputees, people that can go nowhere, people with PTSD and anxiety. So all of those people, millions of veterans, have had their lives affected by that same process where big balls or Terry Taint or Donkey Dick, whoever was in the Doge cabinet ministry at the time, writing this code, telling AI to figure out a way to cancel X and get me as much money out of the VA as possible. Then it did it, and then it sent that information to all the people that were negatively affected by it and fucked them over.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
so many veterans over the past couple of months since these Doge cuts, since being cut out, since being fired by AI, have not only committed suicide, but have checked into mental institutions because they've got nowhere else to fucking go. All because Elon Musk and Doge didn't take time to go through what AI was doing and what their program was doing and why it was wrong that they did it. So now, you've got literally, it's like the same premise behind someone cheating on a fucking essay by asking AI to do it so we wouldn't have to do the work, copy and pasting it, putting it into some kind of format, and then sending it to their principal. They're doing that, or sending it to their teachers. They're doing that with the lives of fucking American veterans.
Yep.
They're doing that with healthcare for American veterans, ongoing mental and emotional supports and policies and programs for men and women who have fought, been maimed, died, lost, families, same thing, and they don't care. And that's really the essence of what we're talking about, is the lack of care, lack of human ability, which is the most important aspect when you're doing anything like this. And you've got a guy who is on the spectrum with a bunch of other fucking hackers who are so detached from humanity, they just didn't give a shit. And they
He's so
still
high on
don't.
ketamine, he probably can't
Yeah.
feel anything. So, I mean, is he concerned about the veterans that are dying? He's not concerned about the veterans that are dying. He couldn't
Thanks
give a
for throwing the
shit.
ketamine angle in there. It makes it even
It's
worse.
true. It's like, it is a numbing agent. It's not something it's like, it numbs your emotions. I mean, does this guy actually understand? Clearly, Elon Musk is not a good guy by any stretch of the imagination. Two of his baby mamas are suing for sole custody of his kids because he's an absent dad. He's drug addled all the time. He brings his kid into work to the Oval Office high as a kite in front of his kid. I mean, this is not a guy who's a virtue of anything. He's just a bad guy who's interested in making a lot of money for himself and only himself. And so the fact that he's done this to the veterans is not a surprise. The fact that the president of the United States let this evil man do this to the American people is a crime. And, and the fact that the GOP continues to support all this nonsense, and the fact that the Doge thing is still inside the U.S. government is an abomination. I mean, these guys are clearly not there for the right reasons. They failed to cut fraud. They obviously are killing people, or at least making people suffer. They've implemented systems that don't work, and more importantly than anything else, is they've stolen all the data from America. And who knows where it is, and who knows how it works now, and how remotely Elon Musk can control everything. That's, to me, is like, it's just such a colossal mess. If it was anybody else, Donald Trump would be impeached by now.
Do you see Professor Scott Galloway, brilliant mind? He's an economist with Piers Morgan the other day.
Yeah, it was good.
Your soliloquy, by the way, beautiful, reminded me of that in a sense. Is that, to understand, and it's very base for me. It's very simple to understand. And I'm not rooting for Elon Musk. Like, I fucking hope both teams lose, right? You go to a match and you pick your favorite. I hate both of these guys. I hope they beat the shit out of each other to the point where they both destroy each other's lives and we can move on with ours. So there's that part of it. There is nothing redeeming about Elon Musk. There is nothing manly about Elon Musk. There is nothing redeeming or manly about Donald Trump. The abuse of power and how real leaders, real men, will calm fears before they stoke them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go on ketamine fucking benders and fire hundreds of thousands of people because they fucking can. They support their families. They visit with their children. They raise men and women. They don't abandon them. Same with Donald Trump. You know, how many kids does he have? Well, 5 that we know of, right? Or
Probably
4,
more.
5 that we know of. But he's abandoned every family he's had. Elon Musk has abandoned every family he has had. These are 2 men, as we come back to the the Elon Trump feud. These are 2 men who both have the character, the values, and the virtues of fucking serial killers. And they are in charge of the United States of America. And I remember when Donald Trump got into trouble around J6, and it was prior to that where they're like, he's going to pull something. He would rather watch the world burn than do the right thing for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
They are the same fucking human being. I wouldn't put it past Donald Trump to tell you this, is that I don't think he knew what Doge does. I still think he doesn't know because he doesn't give a fuck about the American people. He doesn't care how many people got fired. He doesn't care about how many veterans are going to die as a result of the gutting of the VA and all their funding. I go back to that Arlington Cemetery visit a few years ago where he told one of his aides, listen, you got to get like these crippled soldiers out of here. It's making me look bad and making me feel gross. Like we don't need those visuals here.
Crazy.
These are not normal human beings, and the worship of either one of these 2 people as humans or men is an affront to real men, real alphas who go about their fucking business and get it done and love their families and support their families and make the right decision for the right decision's sake. Latin, there's a term, sunum bonum. Just make the next right decision. That's the only thing that fucking matters. Neither of these 2 men have ever made a decision in the best interest of anybody else with the exception of them. And so every single conversation that we have on this show, and I think it's worth noting, when it's about Elon Musk and Donald Trump, needs to be soaked in that knowledge before you actually hold them to account or you try to figure out why they're doing what they're doing and what is the purpose. You know, someone asked me that yesterday because we had a great show. We were it was all breaking news when we were on the FiveStack. Someone asked me that yesterday, and they're like, what do you make of the purpose of what Elon Musk is doing this for? Like, he's burning everything down. Donald Trump, he's burning down Elon Musk, his cash cow. Elon Musk is burning down his relationship with a guy who can give him $38 billion in fucking grants for Tesla and SpaceX and all of his other bullshit companies. What is the purpose of this? And I go back to the same thing. There is no purpose. The purpose is power. The purpose is greed. The purpose is ego. And it all ends the same way for every one of these fucking morons that seems to think they're Nero. Look up the story of Nero. He had everything. Dude built a 35-meter bronze statue of himself in the front of his fucking house. You know where he got? He got chased out of town. He got murdered, or he killed himself. Some people say he got murdered, but the original story is he killed himself. And you know where he got buried? In a box next to his favorite donkey. So they will come. For all these people, all the consternation that I see in the comment section, all the conversations I have with people, it's going to come for both of these guys. Steve Schmidt is like bullish on that, but this is going to chase every single person around. The lack of humanity, the lack of kindness, the lack of empathy will chase around everybody from Marco Rubio to Elon Musk to Donald Trump to Linda McMahon to Kelly Loeffler. To Mitch McConnell, who's just been this incredible ghost over the past, I don't know how long. Same with Lindsey Graham. I mean, all of these people that have enabled things like we're seeing at the VA, these beautiful people who lost their lives and limbs, their families looking for help and support, now being gutted by an AI program. Greed, power, influence does not breed empathy in people who have the values and the virtues of fucking serial killers.
That is incredibly well said, and just to agree with you and support what you're saying, the idea of the great American man, which was sort of what we all grew up on watching movies or and TV shows, was the hero that ran through the fire to save the kid, or the dog or whatever it is. That's the image we all understand as being the great American superhero, and somehow these guys have perverted that whole notion that the whole thing now is just about making as much money as you can. That the whole thing is about seeing how you can screw the system, how much can you get out of it so you can then screw the other guys, screw all the poverty-stricken people. Take away any black people from your vicinity. Take away any immigrants from your vicinity. Take away any gays from your vicinity. Anything that might offend your sensibility or your eye, you can completely eradicate because it's your right to do so. That is so counter to the image of what an American man is meant to be. And it's sort of, I don't understand how American men can look at themselves in the mirror, or those that follow MAGA, and say, well, this is the right thing. Oh, that illegal immigrant or that 18-year-old that was locked up and sent, was almost sent to another country. That was okay. That was okay. We took an 18-year-old away from his mother. That's okay. It's not okay, but they think it's okay. And how can they think that? Don't they know what being a man is really about, and how much service matters, and how much caring about your community matters? Much more than any money you could make on your own through any business venture or anything like that. It's about what you give, not about what you get. But for most people in this MAGA movement, that's just not the case.
No, it never has been, and they've militarized and radicalized America's dumbest men.
Yeah.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. How do you get an army of morons to work for you for free? Tell them that the only thing stands between them and their freedom is you. And Donald Trump has done that effectively. Elon Musk has done that effectively. And unfortunately, we have an epidemic of stupid white men. We have it, and I mean that from the bottom of my fucking heart. As a white man, the biggest problem that America has right now is that you have a bunch of white men who have watched the meteoric rise of a guy like Elon Musk, not knowing the backstory of how he stole everything from everybody, how he bought things with other people's money, pushed everybody out, and stood on the shoulders of real geniuses like the guys who started Tesla or the dude that started SpaceX, and called himself fucking tall. That is not, hi Olga. That is not a man. That is a cuckoo bird. That is someone that gets in the nest, as my boy John Amici said, who's a professional basketball player turned psychiatrist. He gets in the nest and he moves around, and then he's like, "This is my nest now. Fuck you," because he can. And I was brought up very differently. I think you were brought up very differently. I subscribe to a set of values and virtues that say it is very important for you and me, white men, and I'm talking about me more specifically, straight white men, to give that privilege to other people quietly, proudly, and powerfully. And that's the sign of a real man, right? Like when you see Elon Musk talk about how the debt is going to cripple hundreds of millions of Americans for years to come, it's true, but he doesn't give a shit.
No.
Hiding behind that is, give me my EV tax credits, bitch. Like that's the entire goal here.
If he did give a shit, he would have actually done something at Doge that was worthwhile and cut some of the budget, but he never did.
If he gave a shit, he would have taken some of his $580 billion and he would have ended homelessness in the United States of America.
Or starvation around the world.
Or starvation around the fucking world, yes.
Number one on the countdown today, and believe it or not, we haven't got there yet, is also about a real man. So behind closed doors, Donald Trump, not a real man, is desperately texting Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, a real man, for relief from escalating trade war that's tanking the U.S. economy. Multiple sources confirmed direct communication as Trump's illegal tariffs backfire spectacularly, with Canada's $1.7 billion in retaliatory tariffs revenue funding the complete decoupling from American supply chains. This is me reading another thing from your amazing Substack, deanblundell.substack.com. What's the story here? Carney is showing Trump a thing or two about how to handle the world.
Yeah. Kids, men, when you grow up, I want you to put a picture of, as you grow up, a picture of Mark Carney on one wall and a picture of Donald Trump on the other. Okay? I really want you to do this. And I want you to write the word values on Carney's picture and I want you to write the word fraud on Donald Trump's pictures. Mark Carney is governed by a very specific set of values. Those values are, I'm not here for me. I'm here because I'm privileged enough to be the world's leading economist. I'm going to walk tall, carry a big stick. I'm going to shut the fuck up. I'm going to go do my job. Okay. It's really upset a lot of people in Canada because he goes to question period, which is like, going into Congress and having an argument about a bill, and he answers maximum 9 questions and he leaves because he's got fucking work to do building a nation. The news that broke the other day, which I confirmed with a source here in Canada, was that Donald Trump is peppering, was the word that he used, peppering, Mark Carney in his phone through texts and phone calls saying, let's get something figured out before I arrive to the G7 summit, which, there's conversations that we might not let him in too, by the way.
Because really, why is he coming? Why is he coming?
Well, the only reason why, because he insulted us for a long time, you're going to see people trying to fucking camp out, throw eggs at him. It's going to be great.
Yeah, but still, he shouldn't.
No, he shouldn't be coming. Yeah. But what Donald Trump really wants is he wants a coming out party of repairing relationships with Canada because, and I quote, we have kicked his ass to the moon. $30 billion in tourism damage to the American economy, $1.7 billion in reciprocal tariffs that we have taken in as a result. And there was an argument or a conversation going around that, Mark Carney dropped all the tariffs. No, he didn't. He increased the tariffs. And so because of the Canadian boycott, and you, Canada, us beautiful Canadians, we deserve a lot of the credit, because what is really murdering Donald Trump right now and his psyche when it comes to Canada is the fact he's got an entire tourism industry leaning on him going, help, please, stop the fight with Canada. No one's coming here anymore. We're getting killed. Our B&Bs are being shut down. Florida's lost billions of dollars. Neighbor states to Canada, billions of dollars. Crossings into the United States, land crossings down, depending on the land crossing, between 40 and 80% flights from Canada into the United States cut in half. Airlines are like, we'll just fly somewhere else, or we'll leave the planes docked because there's no point in even going to the United States. Canada is in a full sail fuck Trump mode. So Trump knows this, and he has been begging, stopping short of begging, Mark Carney to get something done. Mark Carney's line in the sand, which I heard about yesterday in my conversation with a certain individual, is you're dropping all the tariffs. That's the only thing you get to do.
Right.
There's no trade deal here. We're not negotiating. You want to have a conversation? Drop all the tariffs first. Shut up with the 51st state shit. And they've been having this back and forth, quote, several calls, several texts. But Mark Carney's position hasn't changed to the point where Mark Carney has not initiated any of these calls or texts. They are now coming directly to Mark Carney's phone, and he's answering Donald Trump, and then he'll have a conversation with his people, and he'll send back, I checked on this. No, can't do that. No, can't do that. We need to drop all these tariffs first. So he has not moved. And the Canadian opposition, political opposition, is going to take this information as they have and pervert it. But from the horse's mouth is that these conversations are legitimately being begged for, asked for by the Trump regime and by Trump himself, who, quote, is desperate for any kind of Canada win. And so there's not going to be a win. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that. You're watching in the United States, here in Canada. There's not going to be a win for Donald Trump. There will be a cessation of trade and tariff hostilities, but we're still gone. We're going the other way. Donald Trump is also apparently begging Mark Carney not to secure military deals with other countries. He's also begging to reignite that integrated trade partnership, which we ended the second Mark Carney became the Prime Minister of Canada, and sent shockwaves through the United States. And it's at the, quote, highest level. But I want to really point this out. This is a master economist with a doctorate from Oxford and an economy PhD or an economics PhD, master's degree, and a doctor's from Harvard and Oxford, going up against a fucking career con man who's got dementia. Who do you think is going to fucking win?
Well,
it ain't him.
There's no battle between those two. I mean, there's no contest at all. It's very clear who's going to win. And it's also China. He was on the call with Xi yesterday, trying to get things restarted on the tariff talks there. Xi's looking at him like, why are you so obsessed with these things? They'll restart the talks on Monday, but there'll be nothing that comes out of those talks. Nothing's going to come out of any talks with any country, no matter how much they keep saying there's a deal. There is no deal.
And you know what? You know what Mark Carney did too? He's, as you pointed out, he got in touch with China and he's like, you want to talk about our little tariff war here ahead of the G7? And then he also invited Narendra Modi.
Yeah, I noticed that.
The Prime Minister of India. He's like, why don't you come on over and have a look at the G7, see what we've got to offer. Let's see if we can somewhat repair the relationship we have and have a conversation about your transnational killings here in Canada. And he's like, I'll be there. Right.
Well,
so he's greasing all the wheels ahead of the G7. So he's leaning on everybody else.
Isn't part of the G7, then India could be a really good replacement for them in the G7, and that might be what's going to be happening. The G7 thing, it's happening on the 15th, is a big deal. Everyone needs to pay attention to this thing. It's coming our way. It's probably the most significant geopolitical meeting in decades. I mean, this is the first time we've seen Canada really flex its sort of new muscle. And it'll be interesting to see how they unite a whole bunch of allies together and how Donald Trump reacts. Zelensky's going to be there. That is a big deal. It's going to be a very different geopolitical lineup than we've been used to. Certainly, Canada's not going to be playing the quiet, retiring role anymore. They're organizing a whole new alliance.
We're the new leaders of the free world, dude. Yeah. We are, and we've accepted it. We're building towards that, and we're going to make that a reality if it already isn't one. And to your point, the last time something this geopolitically significant happened, it was when Churchill and Roosevelt met on a destroyer off the east coast of Canada, I believe it's just off the coast of Nova Scotia, to have a meeting with our prime minister at the time to talk about how we're going to supply the war. What are we going to do? How are we going to fight back? What are we going to do to help Europe? This is the most significant meeting since that meeting. And Mark Carney is rightly greasing wheels with countries, bringing them into the conversation, and making Vladimir Zelensky a guest of honor, and bringing everybody on side for Ukraine. So, I mean, he is thinking in 15 different directions, all about Canada's security and Canada's reputation and Canada's economic ability, all in its centrifuge. It is all in the middle right now. And so he's really putting Donald Trump in a box when he comes on the 15th to Kananaskis, Alberta.
They should put him in a box, but they won't. But they should put him in a box.
Now, there's another box that's coming for him soon enough. He's 90 or 80.
That is this FiveStack for today, Friday edition. Thank you very much for being here this week, and thank you for being on the show today. DeanBlundell.substack.com is a lot of the stories we featured today on the FiveStack. You can find the details on his Substack. Plus, he's got an incredible deal right now. Is it still going today?
Flash sale, 50% off for your annual subscription. 5050. Yeah, I had to do it.
Amazing. You're amazing. Look how nice you are. You're giving 50% off.
I fucking love people. Like, and I never want people not to have access to our stuff. And, paywalls are coming and all the things we're doing and the exclusive newsletters and interviews that we're taking part in. I know I had Steve Schmidt on last week, Lev Parnas. Some of those things are going to be moved to exclusives for paid providers, paid subscribers. But, I welcome everybody. I am so grateful to have such a robust group of Canadians and Americans. I think the Americans outnumber the Canadians, which is great, by a total of about 3-1. But, tens of thousands of people in a couple of months have trusted me with their minds and their information. And so I never want to be able to cut off, anybody from being affirmed or informed. And that's why there's 50% off right now. Same thing with Zev. I believe you've got a pretty tremendous deal over at your... No, maybe not. Maybe you're going to have to do it today.
I'm going to match it.
Do it for the rest of the day.
I haven't done it yet, but I will match it.
Rest of the day, 50% off. Rest of the day. Flash sale. Flash Friday sale. That's what we got.
Let's do it.
DeanBlundell.substack.com, narrative.org. That'll be up in a short minute.
Thank you, Dean. And thank you, everyone, for being here. Have a great weekend. We'll see you again on Monday at 3 p.m. when we do the FiveStack on Substack. Have a good one, everybody.